guys, and welcome back to the Renaissance Room podcast. And in today's episode, so much has just been revealed to me. So I kind of just want to talk a little bit about intention, and I want to talk about this podcast and where we're going in the future, So I remember just like having visions of myself, and my love was always in New York City, right? So traveling it to New York, being immersed in culture, and anytime I was presented with like Black art, and I was presented with just like a diversification of art in itself, it really inspired something in me, and it really ignited this sense of like, I'm so much bigger than just where I'm at, and I'm going to be so much bigger than where I've been, right? And anything that I can imagine. And it wasn't really about fame. I think it was more so about my ability to impact and inspire, and to just kind of like, and just stewarding over the little influence that I've had thus far. I noticed that. And so for me, it's as a man thinketh, so is he, right? And so I wasn't really after the pursuit of like attention, but I really sought to try to document my journey just through my work. And, that work just so happened to be like podcasting. And so, moving forward, I just kind of document, like everything that I would write, everything that I would present, everything that I would create was always tailored around my unique experiences. And so when it came to Renaissance Room, this idea was actually birthed at a job I was working. I was connected with two other Black creatives. One was a Harvard graduate, the other was in film. And so when we got together, I was really inspired to create like this haven, in a sense, to do what I had always been doing, but I was really more so leaning towards community. And so looking at the previous podcast episodes and just kind of like factoring in like my love for journalism and being a columnist and being an author, just kind of like weaving all of that in there through like documentary type style podcasting, you can see that some of the podcasts are like news commentary of like culture and things like that. I've really had this daunting thing of like, okay, moving forward, like, are we saying things that are in alignment with who we really are, right? Are we talking about things that just kind of work for us? And I think for me, moving forward, this is where the big break finally comes. We're going to be on Patreon, right? And it's not that I'm not in alignment with my values and things like that, but it's more so in this space of my life where I used to kind of have this desire to put, like, to me, right? So when it comes to this particular medium, like podcasting, writing is a little bit different because I've always felt like writing, you're able to convey your message in the most clear and concise way. But I feel like when it comes to podcasting, there's so many nuances in the things that we say. And because I'm more so tapping into that passion, I'm more so tapping into African American history and culture and art and just my own personal experiences in a very like conservative area, so much of what I'm saying, I think at this point is just becoming a little too controversial. And I think for me, it's more so like not trying to rally together to say things to just kind of like, stir up strife, but more so realizing like the personalization of it, and just kind of wanted to gatekeep that. I think that there was a point in my life where I was like, I don't know if it was a superwoman syndrome, I don't know if it was a Black woman syndrome, I couldn't tell you, but there was this huge part of me that just felt the need to like share and carry everyone on my back. And I really used to do that. If you can't tell, I used to do that through this medium. For me, it was like podcasting was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm gonna take back what I've learned. And I just kind of realized that as I continue to grow, so many of my paradigms are switching right now. So much of what I'm learning, the exposure, right? Like when you're starting out at the bottom, right? And we talk about bottom, we're talking about like poverty, things like that. You're dealing with a whole lot of things that you just won't deal with as you continue to ascend, right? And we know that culture can be a little unforgiving. And I think for myself, because of what I want to do, because of what I want to build, I just think that for me, it's more so like just shifting the medium in which I present myself. I really want to focus on my art, and I want to focus on more so bringing things to fruition. I think that that's kind of the space in which I'm moving towards. And so with my Patreon, you guys will be able to see me actually creating art. You'll be able to see the work, the style of like a writer, and just more so like day in the life. And we'll have more conversations, but it'll be better. I really do. I think that it's time to just kind of like ascend to a different medium, and I feel that like significantly. And so I really hope that you guys were able to take something from Renaissance Room. Like, I still feel as though there's so much more to learn, but I just understand that for myself, when we have certain conversations, there is a certain verbiage that you have to use, right? I kind of talk about this on my column, just conversations about race and so many different things. There's a certain verbiage that you have to use, and it's not necessarily to like protect, but more so just to convey the message clearly. And I think for me, it's more so like continuously doing the work to be able to channel a message in such a way. But I also just realized for myself that sometimes when we identify with things so strongly, it just kind of like, I don't know, I think it can be very bound, like it could be like you can just be very bound to it. And I think when you put yourself in a box, when you operate in such definitives, and so for me, it's more so like I know that Patreon will just be more so like exclusive content of the things that I want to share, the things that I want to create. I did consider YouTube at one point, but YouTube is I don't know, we're gonna try Patreon first, and then we'll go with YouTube, because again, my biggest thing is just like the people who have been following me thus far, like it just means so much to me, and like I just want to be able to connect with people who really rock it and roll it. And I feel like as I'm getting older, like I talk about racism, talk about the things that I've experienced in my life, and it's not even just in forms of like racism, like haters, the whole nine. I think for me personally, at this point in my life, I really only want to be in spaces where I'm appreciated. Like I don't want to be sharing my insight, my intelligence, my intellect. Like, I don't want to be in spaces where it's just not appreciated. It's not received well, and like I'm all about the love, and I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, God is love. I'm flowing with love. I'm moving with the spirit of love in everything that I do, and that's more so like where I am. And I think what Renaissance Room, the passion behind it, the like I said, just overcoming certain things, it just started to feel very heavy, and I just realized like, okay, this is my load to carry, and like unfortunately I can't be the one and only spokesman for these issues, but I definitely can use my art and my medium to channel it, and to channel it through positive advocacy that reinforces the empowerment in African American communities. And so for me, it's about using that light and letting that be the glory to God. And like, you know what I mean? I don't really feel like it's no longer this space where I'm just like, because too, I feel like when we step into these spaces, like it just kind of negates everyone else who's also moving with the spirit of love, who doesn't look like you. And I also feel like it can just be very closed-minded. And I also feel like to an extent, sometimes the conversations are really centered around like scarcity and lack, and it creates a space of like insecurity that is just kind of like perpetuated in our mindsets. And I don't really want to penetrate that narrative, like I really want to be just Jalen, and I want to be able to use the gifts, the talents, the things that God has given me to just be Jalen, you know what I mean? Like, and I want to channel it in a way that's beautiful, and I don't want to misconstrue anything and it be hateful or harmful or severely offensive just due to news commentary. Like I think a lot of times when you're doing like journalistic and like opinion-based writing and things like that, it's very easy to kind of just like freelance it and be like, this is what I think, this is my insight. But I do think to an extent you have to consider like who like would this offend someone, and I think for me, it's about speaking the truth in love, and I think that sometimes it can come off like a little harsh, but like, I don't know, I just think for myself, moving with the spirit of love, realigning myself with my true essence and just like who I am and who God's called me to be, things are shifting. Things are 100% shifting, and it's okay to change. I've always kind of been the type of person who's kept a pretty close-knit type circle, so this definitely is not really in regards to like expansion or a fear of expansion or anything like that. It's just more so like taking the steps to do the right thing after that, And so I don't know. I was really excited about this project. I'm not saying we're completely just like done with it, but I definitely feel like there's been a lot of wrestling within my spirit in regards to this particular medium, and I'm just not sure if this is the space for me anymore, you guys. Like I'm just not sure. Like I'm really grateful. I started this podcast 3 years ago. I've always felt like when it comes to writing and just podcasting and the whole nine. It was something I really wanted to be consistent with, because at this point I've been doing it for quite some time now, maybe like 5 years, 6 years. It's definitely probably been like 7 years. So I really was like, I want to hit this 10,000 hours, and I'll always continue to write just because I love writing. But I think everything that kind of ties into that, I just kind of wanted to flow with that and hone in on that so heavily that I didn't really allow myself to open up and explore the things that I'm also really passionate about and also really good at. So I think to an extent, the fear of maybe missing out is what kind of led me to just like, let me just stick with this, even if I'm not sure, even if you know what I mean. And I definitely would encourage anyone out there who's like, if you wanted to start something new, I truly believe that like, if you want to start something new, if you want to try something new, you really have to let go of everything that's holding you back. And sometimes that's the medium, sometimes that's the things in which you've always done. Like, I know for a lot of people, if you put in a lot of work for something, like nobody's trying to just walk away from that. But like with a bad relationship, honey, if it's not working, you know, it's just not working. And so I was really kind of big on that, and just like reaching a space where I'm just like, you know what, let me just sit in this space and just like step back and, you know, find a way to continuously do everything that I'm doing, right? But convey it in a way that is just more so like an alignment and tailor it specifically to me. Because at this point, it's kind of like a brand, you know? And I don't know if this would be considered me maybe taking it more seriously or what. I don't have all the answers, but I know that I will be moving to Patreon, and we can connect there. I may tap into YouTube. I'm really, really, really tapping into like photography these days. Like, I just love it so much. I think it's super dope. But my biggest thing is, again, just creating community. But, you know, I realize for myself too, I'm at this space in my life where it's like, when it comes to creating community, I'm so focused on my outside world, like the things that I can't control, versus like, let me hop online and let me share these things for the sake of community. You know what I mean? Like, I think for me, it's more so like, let me get out here, let me find my people, and like, let me actually be present. And I think that sometimes social media can kind of twist that a little bit. Like, we'll have this validation from like likes and, you know, things like that. Strangers are liking our posts and supporting our businesses or whatever, and we think that, okay, these are my people. But it's like, for me, it's like, I just much rather, you know, I guess I'm a little old school, because I still appreciate those in-person interactions and like meeting people authentically and gelling in that sense. So I guess we can call this just like a podcast update. And yeah, I hope you guys really did take something from Renaissance Room. My intention was to really try to inspire and empower African Americans, because like I said, just my experiences growing up in certain environments and having certain experiences on jobs, and just racial injustice and all those different things, like it was something that was really passionate to me, and I just really wanted to be able to pull back, like look back and like share my experiences of like overcoming and trials and triumphs, and really relate to you guys in a sense of like knowing that you're not alone. I know a lot of times like these things happen and everyone's story doesn't make it to the New York Times. You know, like something that someone said to you in the coffee break room is not going to make it to Good Morning America. You know, everything's not recorded, and like I know a lot of times it's very hard to get, you know, it's easy to get hard like down on yourself, and it's easy to just kind of be in a space where you're just like, wow, like I'm filled with hate, I'm filled with rage, I'm filled with anger, because it's like the system is against me and all these different things. But like, if you tap in with God and you tap in with your spiritual essence and you tap in with, you know, really having a relationship with God and just like knowing who you are as a person and like genuinely loving yourself, like you're going to be right, like you're going to be on the right track, you know, to getting what's for you. And you're going to look up and you're just going to realize that you're going to have the courage and the confidence, like no matter what, it doesn't matter how much they're paying, it doesn't matter the benefits, you will not put yourself in a situation to where you're just not going to be appreciated. Like, you don't deal with people who are shady, you don't deal with people who are trying to emulate you, you don't deal with people who are trying to appropriate, you don't deal with it, you know what I mean? Like, you literally surround yourself with people who are authentic when you start to radiate that self-love. So I think for me, as I'm saying that to y'all, I think that that's kind of what my life is about right now, and that's more so like the space in which I'm reflecting. There were some podcast episodes where doctrine was heavy, you know, there were some podcasts where I definitely felt for myself just moving through the motions, depending on who I was around during that season of my life, depending on what it was that I was consuming. And I think for me, that was the part of the journey that I was really like trying to just document. But I just realized that for myself, I think when I look at it like that, I just don't think that's the way in which I want to channel it. You know what I mean? Like, I think for me, when I think about my journey in the documentary that I would love to create for my journey specifically, I think it will always be, it'll continuously be, rather, because I am a published author, it'll always be in the form of writing, So, yeah, and I think words are powerful. So I really hope that with everything with Renaissance Room, these conversations were pretty touchy. So I do hope that it was something that was inspiring. I hope you felt seen. I hope that you were able to relate to what it was that I was saying. And I hope that, it just inspired you guys. Like, I really hope that it inspired you to just like, no, you can go out and do whatever you want to do. Like, you can create whatever you want to create, and it's totally okay to find yourself. It's totally okay to like be standing on something and be like, you know what, I'm still standing on this, but I'm gonna take this and go out and do something with these values and these, you know what I mean? Like, I think for me, it's more so like about doing, and I think it's more so just about like living your life in such a way, versus in like, sorry, my dog is barking. I hope that makes sense, because at this point I feel like I'm kind of like rambling, but yeah, I feel like 2023 was definitely giving the year of me. I think for the first time, like, I really started to feel like myself again. Had some experiences, felt like I lost so much, myself included, and I really was trying to find myself through the art, through my passions, because that's always just kind of been my compass, is like who God created me to be. Like, I'm truly an artist at heart, and so like it was really trying to find myself through that. And I think for me, it just all coming full circle, and I'm like, yeah, I just definitely am moving with the spirit of love. And so I encourage you guys, I really do, and realize that your sense of advocacy can come from your art. Your sense of advocacy can come from your life and the way you live your life. And everything doesn't have to be documented. Everything does not have to be recorded. Everything does not have to be like spoken about, like, because you can only change your four corners. And I think that sometimes when we get online, we want to reach people in LA, we want to reach people in New York, we want to reach people here and here, but it's like, you go out in your community and you make a difference with your four corners, and then you go and do the same thing in whichever way and space God guides you, so that's more so what I'm saying, like, and that's really the space in which I've reached in my own personal life. Like, it's so much about doing and just like being that, and continuously overcoming. But I really feel like when you move with the power of love, when you move with self-love, you're just not going to put yourself in situations to be like disrespected. You know what I mean? Like, so much of that is rooted in ignorance, and so much of it is just rooted in things that just have nothing to do with you. And don't ever be afraid of, or ashamed of being who you are, because all that you are is great. Black is beautiful, and there's so much to this, so much to explore, so much to see. I mean, there's such a pull to me in regards to like Black art. There's such a pull to me in regards to just African American customs and spirituality and the whole nine. God is love, okay? He loves you. So we will be on Patreon. I probably will be coming back soon to give you guys the link, and it's all going to be in the podcast description. So if you're on iTunes, you can check it out in the description. If you're on Anchor, it'll still be in the description. And I wish the best for you guys. I really do. Like, I feel like podcasting is so much fun. I definitely feel like if you feel like it's a space for you, get up and do it. Like, honestly, podcasting is a blast. You don't need anything fancy. You don't need anything crazy. All you need is the Anchor app, which I've said over and over. That was my only ad on this platform. But you can absolutely do it. If you feel like you have something to say it. give a voice to the voiceless. That is my thing. Like, and you know, when I was contemplating about this medium and podcasting and the things I was educating you guys about, I realized for myself, I'm like, man, it's really about giving the voice to the voices at the end of the day, you know. So if you feel like that's your space, then let it be. And you know, one thing I know about spirituality, one thing I know about God is always moving. And sometimes, you know, God just, you know how like, it's literally like the Bible. Like, God is literally moving through all of these cities, these towns, right? And sometimes if you're fearful, you'll miss God, because God is no longer where you are, right? He's already on your next. He's in your next. He needs you to put forth the steps and the work to get to your next, because that's where he is, right? And so you can never move with the spirit of fear. You know, you have to be willing to let go. You'll know. I think you'll know in your heart when it's time to move on, right? And to go on and do something greater for yourself and for the people that you're going to meet. You know, it's not always a matter of giving up, because I think giving up is when you just sit down, you do nothing, you say, you know what, this is it. You know, I think that's giving up. I think that it's okay to change. It's okay to pivot, right? And I noticed for myself, I really struggle with that, because I'm so hardworking and I'm so determined. And anything that I start, I want to finish. I want to see it all the way through. And so for me, it was like, you know what, I have to figure out how am I going to see this all the way through. Like, I don't want to, you know, but I also knew for myself, I was very creative, you know, I was talented in that sense, and I couldn't stay in one particular thing. I mean, of course, for me, the concept was writing, but as far as the externals, right, my abilities, my gifts, like there was more for me, right? And so I don't know if this message is for you. Maybe it's for you, girl. I don't know. Like, there's more for you, you know? So don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to get out and do something different. And hey, you know? And lastly, I will end with everything doesn't need to be online. Not everything needs to be broadcasted for the people to see, for the people to show. That's one thing I've learned. And I've learned to really value my thoughts, my intelligence, you know. And I encourage you ladies, if you are someone who is an intellectual, value your intelligence, because it's the one thing that we can't see. And a lot of times we get it confused in society, because you can't see something, so we feel like, you know what, there's no value there, you know. For me, growing up, having certain experiences with, you know, academia and trauma and bullying and all those different things, I didn't value my intelligence that much. I thought that it was one of those things that I'm like, okay, yeah, I know some things in what, you know, I didn't value it. But value your intelligence. That's intellectual property. That right there that's where the capital lies. Okay, wisdom comes from God. Wisdom is gift. Value it, cherish it. Okay, hold on to that. So we'll talk in the next episode. If you've been listening to me for a while, you know, you can feel me right now. You can feel me. Your girl is back, better than ever. Like a phoenix, I will rise continuously. So this is the rebirth. Just gave my life to Christ. This is the rebirth. Your girl is out here on a strong foundation. I'm so sturdy within myself. I'm loving her. And I just can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see what we do in the next season, right? In the next project, in the next wherever God has for us. You know, so trust, believe, release. You know, you got to let go if you want to get to those new beginnings, and it's okay. It is absolutely okay. And you've got to have a little faith for your new beginnings. But, you know, with me, I feel like I've been pulled to this rim for a very long time. You know, my next, that is, I really feel like it was destiny. It's divine planning. You know, I don't feel by any stretch of the imagination that this is something I've conjured up within myself. I've always known that this was what we will be, right? And I don't want to say destination, because life's always changing, but enjoy your journey. You know, I think if you want to document your journey, find a way to do that on your own time. You know, it's not really a matter of shying away from your mistakes, but I just realized that the world is just not that forgiving, you know. So I hope that this is inspiring. I hope that this is going to be the thing that could potentially catapult you into the direction of love and light and beauty and, you know, vigor for your next, right? So I'll end with that. I will come back and We will talk about the Patreon. We will talk about where we can further connect. I greatly I'm so grateful and I'm so appreciative, because I say this humbly, but anything I do, I put my hands to, there's fruit, right? Anything that I decide I'm going to do, I've always seen fruit from my labor. And so just to know that God is working in me, and to know that my hands are prosperous, I am so very blessed. And I really hope that I did a good job stewarding over this. I hope I did a good job at sharing what I've learned and sharing my insights for the people who may need to hear it. I hope I did a good job at making you guys feel seen. I hope I did a good job at making you guys feel heard by sharing my experiences, and again, giving a voice to the voiceless. And I just hope that you all just take nothing but inspiration from this. Peace.